Here we are, another episode of the FFD. Cage Dolphin and the Flounder here. Cope,
You bet.
how are you?
Oh, we're not doing too bad this morning. I may or may not have not slept worth a shit because I drank too much caffeine. So, you know how that goes. You spend all night running around in bed even though you're asleep. Makes for a wonderful morning.
Yeah, indeed.
But it did get me to come up with something stupid for us to talk about today.
Well, that's
Underrated.
exciting.
Yeah. Underrated movies, actors, and actresses. I got a great start for you because I know how much you like this guy, but John Hamm, I think, is a bit underrated in his movies and his acting ability. I think he could probably be a lot bigger than what he is.
I feel like he's appropriately respected and played. Um, he's got the probably the highest quality meme out there right now with the the nightclub thing. I don't know. I can't think of any of his work that I look at and say, boy, that was fucking awesome. I mean, he's good in Landman. I enjoy it. But like, I don't know, he's kind of an annoying piece of shit, I thought, in Maverick, which I guess was the
Well, that
point.
was the character they cast him into. Yeah.
So I guess he fucking nailed it. But if you're allowed to hate Bull Durham because of Susan Sarandon, I guess I can. I guess it's fair for me to be like, I kind of thought he was a fucking annoying fucking brick in that movie.
Well, there is a
Other than
huge
that, I
difference
don't.
between Susan
Other
Sarandon and John Hamm.
Well, I
John
can think
Hamm
of
is
two.
actually attractive. I think that was the role that he was supposed to play in Maverick. But I mean, I'm looking at some of his other movies. Like one of the movies where I think he did a really great job in was Million Dollar Arm.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen a baseball movie?
If we want to talk baseball, let's talk some seriousness actually here. Hall of Fame, right?
Okay.
All right.
On
So
baseball.
yep.
Yeah.
Let's start with the Baseball Hall of Fame. We had some text exchange this week. But let's start with the Baseball Hall of Fame, and then we'll get worked into the football here. I know you kind of talked it over a little bit with Jerry, but Baseball Hall of Fame. Let's start with that. So I have been a proponent up until this last year that Pete Rose does not belong in the Hall of Fame. He broke rule number one, which was you do not gamble on the game. I don't care if he only bet on the Reds, but he knew damn well there was days that he was throwing a piece of shit pitcher, or I mean, still a major leaguer, but not an all-star, not a normal starter. And so he wouldn't bet on the Reds those days, right?
Yeah.
So he broke rule number one. It's in every clubhouse. You do not gamble on the game. He got a lifetime ban. So he has not been allowed into the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose is now dead. It is time to vote him into the Hall of Fame. Would
And
you agree or
what does
disagree with that?
being alive or being dead? Hold on. What does being alive or dead have to do with being in the Hall of Fame?
He got a lifetime ban. He was banned for his lifetime. His lifetime is over. He's dead. So it is time to now enshrine him. He was appropriately punished because he broke rule number one, the one that's listed in every clubhouse. You go into a clubhouse, you hear about it from all aspects. You do not bet on the game. That destroys the integrity of the game. He destroyed the integrity of the game when he was betting on baseball. Now, like I said, he got a lifetime ban. His lifetime's over. It's now time to enshrine. So that's my Pete Rose take. Would you agree or disagree with that? Or whatever you want to say. I don't care.
Think he should have been voted in while he was still alive, but that's just me. All the other people that have gotten in with the things that they did against baseball, and they still made it in. I think he should have served
So
his
here,
punishment a lot
let
faster
let let
just
me
being
stop
dead.
let me stop you for a second there. All these other so your exact quote there, if I remember right, was all these other people that did their things to the game of baseball. Give me an
Yep.
exact instance. Give me an exact instance. Because that's a very generic saying. You know what I mean? Who did what and got into the Hall of Fame?
And so my thing is, I've heard multiple people that have at least cheated that have gotten into it. I don't remember their names. I will look them up. Give me a second.
Well, so what are we talking about with cheating? Like legit, are we talking sign stealing? Because whether we want to admit it or not, sign stealing's always kind of been part of the game. And that's one of the parts that baseball has kind of always policed itself when the umpires let it. If you get caught stealing signs, it's about a guarantee someone's going to wear a fastball to the ribs. That's one of the unwritten rules, I guess you could say. I don't so I would
Yeah,
need to know an exact instance what you're talking about, how that compares. Because we're talking trying to compare to breaking rule number one, which is explicitly stated what happens if you break rule number one.
Googling. Google sucks.
Yeah, you know why? Because there isn't rules of baseball that have been broken and people still make it into the hall. It's not. If you want to say that Ty Cobb was an asshole and a racist, sure, I'll buy that. I can accept that as fact. But that doesn't affect the fact that he played the game hard and he was one of those guys that made it in properly. You know what I mean? If you want to say people are assholes, that's not a reason to keep them out of it. So I would say this: the Hall of Fame is voted by the baseball writers. I'd say there's a problem with the Baseball Writers Association. The fact that they still feel this need to uphold the no one goes in unanimously because Babe Ruth, who was the greatest baseball player ever, wasn't unanimous. Someone held him out. So people that should be surefire Hall of Famers, like just get 100% of vote. Like there's no doubt. Don't get that because some baseball writer needs to feel like he's important enough to not vote for this guy because we got to make sure no one goes in unanimously. That's stupid. This ruins the Baseball Writers Association, in my opinion. It loses all the credibility that they have. So I'm going to say right here any of these baseball writers of America that vote, they need to publish their votes and defend it because there's too many times that we have stupid votes going on because these guys think they're better than anybody else. I'm going to make this fun for you to edit because this is going to be a good take for TikTok or Facebook, which I know you edit out all my cuss words.
Yeah,
But
well, I kind of have to.
all these little baseball writers of America that want to try to hold these baseball players to these standards that no one else in the world is held to. It's not the Hall of Nice. It's the Hall of Fame for baseball. Okay? The steroid era. Sosa, McGuire, Bonds. All of those guys belong into the Hall of Fame. They're all Hall of Famers. Sosa and McGuire saved baseball. I'll say it right now. That summer when they had their chase, that saved baseball. Baseball was down after the strike. Baseball almost destroyed itself, and those guys brought it back. And they should be in the Hall of Fame. They should 100% be enshrined. Bonds, absolutely.
Even with the steroid use.
Yeah, because you know why? Baseball steroids wasn't illegal by baseball rules. It wasn't against the baseball rules. Was it illegal as far as you and I, like U.S. citizens? Yes, but it wasn't listed against the rules of baseball. Okay, I mean if we're gonna not worry about fucking people using cocaine and making it into the Baseball Hall of Fame, why should we worry about steroids? You know what steroids did? And I'll say this. Steroids did inflate the numbers. You know why? Because it helped them recover so they could play 162 games or 154 games and not just 120. Because the baseball fucking schedule is a grind, man. And to get up and do it every day, that fucking takes a lot. And that's what steroids did. It allowed people to recover, it allowed people to continue to work out and be at their best throughout the season. I'm not saying it was good. I mean, it was fantastic to watch, but I'm not saying it was good. But that said, it's time to let them in. These baseball writers want to try to hold these guys accountable for their actions, but that's bullshit. This isn't, like I said, this isn't the Hall of Good. This isn't the Hall of Nice Guys. This is the Hall of Fame that we should celebrate these guys for their accomplishments in the game of baseball. That's why now that he is dead, he has served his lifetime fucking ban. Pete Rose deserves to be in. The steroid guys deserve to be in. Kurt Schilling is being held out because of his political views. And no matter how we feel about it, if we want to debate whether or not he's a good enough pitcher to be in the Hall of Fame, that's fine. But it needs to be a debate about his baseball skills and what he did during when he played the game and not what he has said after since he played in the game.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Baseball should determine, a baseball Hall of Fame. Anything outside of the baseball probably shouldn't matter too much, other than if you break baseball rules,
But that's the
which
thing.
I don't
Or
understand how the steroid use wasn't breaking baseball rules.
because it wasn't actually against the rules. That's the funny thing. You know, the NFL has had performance enhancing drug testing since, I don't know, sometime after Lyle Azedo, right? Like, and they might have had it before Lyle Azedo. Like, we all knew about it. Remember the Minnesota Viking? I think it was the running back that got caught with the Wizinator because he was getting tested. Just go ahead
I
and pull up.
don't remember that.
Go ahead and pull up Google real quick. The Minnesota Viking who got caught with the Wizinator. Hopefully they don't show a picture of it in use because that'll show in your eyes. But football for a long time has been, it is, simply stated, hey, this is the punishment for using PEDs. Baseball did not have that up until whenever, and then they went 50 games on like the first, if I remember right. So it's one of those things that it wasn't against the rules as far as baseball went. Was it illegal in the United States to take anabolic steroids if they were prescribed? Yes. But like I said, it wasn't against baseball rules.
Ontario Smith.
There you go. Got got caught with
Never
the
heard of
Wizinator.
Ontario Smith, so
You just don't remember.
probably not.
But
How many
anyways,
years ago was that?
oh shit, probably 2004.
2005.
I was pretty close.
2005.
So
Five.
a little over 20 years
Yeah.
ago. So 20 years ago, there was fake penises attached to people so they could pee clean.
You know
I
how
think
many people have been doing that over the years to pass their random drug tests at work?
So the Baseball Hall of Fame, like I said, I think it's time to let these people in. I think it's time. I feel like the baseball writers of America have lost touch with what the American public wants. American public wants
I
these
think
people
that's all Hall
celebrated.
of Fame voting right now.
Well,
I think there's a huge disconnect in actually looking at the stats that a player puts up and then voting into any Hall of Fame based just on their work in that sport. I think too many people are tying too much other shit to it.
okay, so give me the next example. I mean, I think we both know the obvious one here.
If you want me to throw Belichick out there, there's a decent made up argument for why he didn't get in there. I mean, they're adding what ifs into his numbers. They're adding what ifs because they're like, well, without Brady, he wouldn't have that. Well, he did have Brady, and those are his
Right.
numbers.
Yes.
It's like you telling me I'm not allowed to move Saquon Barkley wherever I want and throw any other running back in there because that isn't how it works. So those are the numbers he got.
Yes.
It's the same principle. They're trying to hold him out on what ifs.
So we're both on board that the fact that Bill Belichick didn't get voted in this year is dumb.
There was one guy that came out and talked about why he didn't vote Belichick in. And he broke it down and he said the reasons why, because you can only vote in 3 people, right?
And who are the 3 people he
And
decided
the
to
other
put in
3
about
people
Bill?
hang on, I had that. But the guy actually came out and said the other 3 should be in there and they should have been in there already. And that's why he voted the way he did.
So one of them was Ken Anderson, right? I believe I know
I'm
the
not
sports
sure I'm
writer you're
looking.
talking about. Ken Anderson was brought up. He was like the Bengals quarterback. I think he took them to a Super Bowl, but they didn't win, if I remember right. And we're looking
So
early
it's
80s.
Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and LC Greenwood.
Okay, so I don't know how much you know of these guys. Roger Craig. I mean, when I think Roger Craig, I think a quality running back. I'm kind of surprised maybe he wasn't in the Hall of Fame. But that said, I mean, you could vote for 3 people. So you're looking Ken Anderson, Roger Craig, and LC whatever guy. Guy from the '70s Steelers.
Greenwood.
LC Greenwood, who would be like member number like 32 of the fucking '70s Steelers to get into the Hall of Fame. Right? Like, I mean, the '70s Steelers are romanticized by everybody. Like, how many of these people actually
never got
belong
that.
in the Hall of Fame?
He had 6 Pro Bowl selections, 4 titles, 78 sacks, 14 fumble recoveries.
So, I mean, honestly, good fucking player. Good
That
fucking
was
player.
in the career sacks was 74. The fumble recoveries was 1971, and apparently back then they didn't record tackles.
So I'm not going to argue the fact that the guy deserves to get into the Hall of Fame, but you're telling me that for the last since probably 1984. Or I don't know when exactly LC Greenwood retired, right? I don't. I'm sure you can look it up. But the last 30
81.
years, okay, so he retired in 81, which means he was eligible in 86 to be voted into the Hall of Fame. So for the last 29 years, he hasn't made it in. And now you're going to vote for him in above Belichick. That's wrong.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you by any means on Belichick should have made it. I'm just saying that is the only person that came out and said why
Yeah.
he
And
didn't
he's
vote for
wrong.
Belichick.
And he's
And
wrong.
that's because he felt the other three should have been in there.
And that's the problem. Let's be honest.
He
This is the
he
hall. This
probably
is the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Very Good. If you haven't made it in 30 years, if you've been not getting the votes for 30 years, why should we push back people who deserve to be in? Because for 30 years, you haven't been good enough to get voted in. 30 years, he wasn't good enough to be voted in. And they felt they had to push him. So we push down the people that should be rewarded for their careers so guys like that can get in. When did Ken Anderson retire?
not 100% on Ken Anderson. 2010.
Ken Anderson retired in 2010? He was the Bengals quarterback in the
Yes.
early 80s.
Well, then that was Ken Anderson retired from professional football in 2010 after a successful 16-season career with Cincinnati Bengals.
He would still be eligible for
That's what
the
it says.
that seems off. I'll be honest with that. Um
He was born in 1949.
yeah, so
Now,
are
hold on,
are
hold on. I
are
gotta change this up.
did you just look on Wikipedia? Was that a Wikipedia look?
Worse, I looked on Bing. I didn't switch to Google and I pulled up Bing.
All right. So here you go. So yes, Kenny Anderson technically did retire in 2012, but that was as
In
like
1986.
yes. So he retired in 86.
Yes,
Then he
but
became a commentator for the Bengals. So
yeah,
yeah,
he retired in
he was the
86,
radio
not 81.
yeah, so he was the Bengals broadcaster from 87 to 92 93. From 93 to 2002, he served as the Bengals quarterback coach and offensive coordinator. Okay, so he retired totally from football in 2010, right? But he
Yeah,
ended his football
yeah, but he
career
quit playing in 1986.
in 86, which means in 91 he was eligible. So 25 years he's been out of the Hall of Fame. And this guy decides we need to right this wrong and put Ken Anderson in ahead of Bill Belichick.
Like I said, I didn't say I agreed with it, but that was his reasoning.
So this is what I'm saying is this is the problem is we get these people that don't know what the fuck they're doing voting or they don't care or they hold people to such a standard that isn't right. You know, going back to what I was saying, McGuire, Sosa, Bonds, Lane, Clemens, they belong in the Hall of Fame without a doubt. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, they belong in the Hall of Fame. And it's these uppity fucking baseball writers that are holding them out.
So if you're going to go along the lines of Pete Rose has served his time,
Yes.
and he should be in now.
Yes.
What about Shoeless Joe Jackson? Should he be in?
So I guess I would honestly have to look at his stats to see if he deserves it. Obviously, I was not around to watch him play at all, right? I don't think we could argue. I mean, you can say I'm old as much as you want. I'm not that old.
You're old.
So I would say once again, we're talking about, as he served his lifetime ban, yeah, he's dead. So I would say that's a fair statement. Career games, he played in 1,300 games, had 1,700 hits, 54 home runs. I don't
He
know
almost
if
had
I would call.
1,800 hits.
There you go, almost 1,800. I don't think he has the resume because of what happened to make the Hall of Fame. Not saying
His career batting average is 356.
that's a nice average. I'm just saying I don't think he had the career longevity needed to become a Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball. Had this not happened, maybe we'll never know. Unfortunately for him, I don't think he'll be anything more than a footnote in what has happened in Major League Baseball.
I believe that he was instrumental enough that he should be recognized in the Hall of Fame because
Well,
there are old timers that are in there that don't have the stats to be in there as well, just because they had a large impact on the game, or some of their stats weren't counted for this, or something like that.
so I would say this to
But if you
me,
get a
like I said,
lifetime ban,
well, like I said, to me, the lifetime's over when they die. They served their lifetime ban. It's not the lifetime of America. It's not the lifetime of the world. It's not the lifetime of the Baseball Hall of Fame. It is a lifetime ban of the person who's serving it.
so according to this AI overview, he is now eligible for consideration by the Classic Era Committee in 2027.
Who's that? Joe or Pete Rose?
Yeah, uh, Shoeless Joe Jackson, because the MLB commissioner Rob Manfred removed him and other deceased players from the permanently ineligible list.
Did he do that with Rose? I guess I haven't heard this.
Am looking for you, sir, because that was my next stop. Yes, Pete Rose is now technically eligible for the Baseball Hall of Fame. It, but
I think that's. I
won't
think that
happen until late 2027. So all the people that have lifetime bans from past years apparently have been put to where they can be eligible in 2027. His
I
case
think
will
that's
be reviewed by Classic Era Baseball Committee.
and I think that's the most fair thing in the world. I mean, like I said, he served his lifetime ban. He did not get to see it. He was basically removed from the game before his actions. I think that's fair. I think now that he has deceased, I'm a little sad actually that he's not eligible. Okay, so he was removed permanently. He was removed from the permanently ineligible list in May 2025 with when Rob Manfred did
Yep.
that. I don't know. I don't know why he can't be voted in this next year. I guess I'd like to know that, but I'm sure we can look that up. But no one cares besides me. So I'd say
So
that's good.
I pulled up the list of people that got pulled off the banned list. And you
Okay.
got Pete Rose, Shoeless Joe Jackson, the Black Sox, which is
Yeah,
Eddie
that was. Yep.
Siscote, Happy Felsh, Chick Andy, Fred McMullen, Sweet Iceberg, Buck Weaver, and Lefty Williams. Others are Benny Koff, Phil Douglas, and then it just says several others from the early 20th century. Then you
So
go to
I
the
would.
fucking New York Times because that's a Buck Weaver.
Okay. So the reason why.
Gene Paulette. Who was Gene Paulette? Yeah.
So the reason why Rose won't be eligible until 2027, basically until 2028, when it can be enshrined, is because that's when the Classic Era Baseball Committee next meets. Is December 2027. So that's what it is. I didn't realize that the Classic Baseball Committee didn't meet every year. I thought that was a yearly thing that they got voted for. But I mean, if we look, I think just about every one of these guys that were on the list of banned players were banned for gambling.
Yes, sir. Do you know who William Cox is
Yeah, he was
and
the
why he
Phillies.
got banned?
He was a Phillies owner who he was betting on games. Once again, gambling was rule number one. It always was because it affects the integrity of the game. People need to believe that the game's not
He is
fixed.
the
There's nothing.
first non-player that got banned.
Yeah, the owner of the Phillies, which is Philadelphia. Let's be honest, has always been the kind of a mobster's playground. Maybe as much, if not more, than New York. Yeah. So
Honestly, I have limited respect for any sports team in Philadelphia, and it's very limited. And it's not because of the sports teams; it's because of their fans.
So, anyways, yeah,
But
that's
they did
fair.
save money this year. They did save money, and a lot of city workers are happy that they didn't have to go out in those negative temperatures that were going on to grease light poles this year or around the Super Bowl time. So
I thought maybe they just bought a bunch of stuff from Menards and were getting their 11% rebate check.
they might have. I don't know. Which other player that's been banned do you think deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? Because you know who mine is. I mean, Shoeless Joe should be there by now. but for the same reason as Pete Rose, he's not. Well, not exactly the same reason, but it shouldn't have
Well,
taken 100 years to get him in.
I would have to go back and look at the Black Sox and see overall stats for them. They had some very good players that probably would have made it had they not got banned. But as far as me just being able to sit here right now and say, "Hey, this guy should get in," I'm glad they're getting the opportunity. I think that's right. I think that's fair. I'm thinking finally something I can agree with Rob Manfield on was lifting that ban and like taking them off because they have served their time. So I guess I didn't even know he did that in May. So hats off, round of applause because that was overdue.
You just give him the clap.
It was a slow clap, slow clap.
You gotta work it up to speed. Yeah,
Yeah.
little golf clap. Little golf clap.
It was better than golf clap because this is something that needed to be done. This will right a wrong, um, and put him where he belongs now that he is dead. I know there's a lot of people that wanted to argue he deserved to be in before that. I was not amongst those because he broke the biggest rule of them all. He knew. Everybody knows what the biggest rule is, and he broke it. So we've talked about that. We've talked about the or the NFL Hall of Fame, getting slighted. Um, you know, we've mentioned Bonds and McGuire and Sosa and those guys that from the early 2000s that deserve to be in now. Um, but is there like what that's and I know you talked about with Jerry on Tuesday, but let's go ahead and have the conversation here because now not only has Shador made the Pro Bowl game, but that means that the Browns had
Joe
two
Flacco.
Pro Bowl quarterbacks in their quarterback room to start the season. So we had the conversation. Um, this is all for television. This is all this is. All the Pro Bowl is a television show. Now, can you look at the stats and say either one of them deserve to make it? No. But
No,
if we're to look at the AFC quarterbacks, I mean, if we're to legit look at the AFC quarterbacks, go through them here. So we have the Patriots quarterback who's going to Super Bowl, right? So he's not even eligible. Okay. The Bills quarterback hurt, can't play. Jets quarterback, I'm not even sure if they actually had a quarterback. Dolphins quarterback, are we talking Tua? Are you talking yours? No, they don't deserve to go in. If you go to the South, Danny Dimes, Indiana Jones, broken, can't play. Um, I would have liked to see Cam Ward. I think did he have a Pro Bowl season? No, but I think he's someone the Titans can feel excited about. CJ Stroud is I don't if he's not hurt, he should have been. Like I'm surprised somebody hasn't kneecapped him for his play in the playoffs. That was terrible. I believe Trevor Lawrence is hurt. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. Lamar was hurt most of the year. I guess you can make the argument that Rodgers could play, but I believe he had a bad shoulder.
I don't know.
Yeah, so as we're looking at the AFC quarterback rooms, they're all hurt. There's no one there. I mean, I think I might be 2 phone calls away from being invited to the Pro Bowl for the AFC.
I don't think they want the controversy.
Well, that's fair.
You can't have 3 Browns quarterbacks in the fucking Pro Bowl.
But that said, so I mean, I think we agree now that you realize that it's just a television show. That's all it is, and they want the ratings. And
It turned
realistically,
into it. It's turned
uh,
into it.
and realistically, there's no one else there anyways. I mean, it
So
was
I did a lot of research on this because I didn't know how in depth if it was even going to come up with Jerry or not. So I just wanted to have a little bit of backing on what I was saying, and I figured I'd run into you today about it. 2007 was the last time there was actually a
the game.
hit in the Pro
Yeah,
Bowl. No, a hit where somebody actually hit someone really
was
hard
that
was
was that Sean
2007.
Taylor? Was that
Yes.
Sean Taylor? Yeah, when he about killed that guy.
Yeah, because nobody else was playing and he lit him up.
Yeah,
So if you look at just viewership of the Pro Bowl, it dropped off in 2001 or 5. I think no, 2005 is where the big 5 million viewer drop was. In the late 90s, you were looking at 15 million, give or take, a little above, a little below, until 2001, and it dropped down to 11 million people. And then in, I believe it was 2001 or 2005, it dropped down to 7 million. And that is the same time that they stopped taking the game seriously.
Well, and
Like
so
100%. It was just run around and throw deep balls, and there was absolutely no defense anymore.
and no one wanted to risk getting hurt. I can't, for the life of me, I can't think of the guy's name, but the Patriots had a running back, a rookie running back that was really good. And they were playing that beach football, and he like tore out his knee, and he did. If I remember right, he made a short comeback with the Jets after he like recovered. But if I remember right, he damn near lost his leg because he fucked up his knee so bad. And people decided that this wasn't the type of activity that they wanted to partake in, and potentially ruin their lifestyle and their chance of making money. They didn't want to risk it for something that wasn't serious. Like when you're playing the game, we're not talking about practice. We're talking about a game, not practice. When we're talking about the game you go out to kill yourself for. We're talking about practice. And we're talking about the Pro Bowl, which is less than practice, you know? And so like it's one of
I
those
think the
things that
Pro Bowl's better than practice, but
it's one of those things I think the players decided that they didn't want to risk getting hurt for it. And as fans, we see that and we're like, well, if they don't give a shit, why should I care? Um, I think the NFL is doing things a little bit more right now with how they're kind of doing the Pro Bowl stuff. They're kind of doing stuff that's fun that people want to kind of watch again. You know, they have the dodgeball, they have the quarterback competitions where they throw through the rings and all that, which is fun. Um, but the game now is dead, and that's all right. We don't really need the game. And so maybe what we need to do is stop calling it the Pro Bowl and just change it to the NFL, Super Bowl week activity, activities something or something, you know what I mean? Go ahead and bring in the players that are popular, whether they were good or shit, who cares? Bring in the popular players and let them show off that they can hit the ring as it moves 30-yard downfield for 7 points. You know, have them throw up 235 pounds of the bench press 43 times just because it's fucking awesome to watch. And most human beings can't do that. But to name it the Pro Bowl anymore, I think they need to go ahead and change that. But keep
so
it,
you're
make it.
saying to go to the skills drill format.
Absolutely. Yep, and make it the people who people wanna see. Go ahead. If people, and we've had this conversation, like them or hate them, people wanna see Shador because they either wanna hate him or they wanna cheer for him. They wanna be able to say, "Oh, he's shit," or "Man, he's doing great," or "He's improving." But people wanna see him. People wanna watch him, and that's what they need to lean on, is they need to lean on bringing in the people that people wanna see and want to watch, and let them do the skills competition for shit. And I know it's tough for people like, what do you do with defensive tackles, right? I mean, like we don't want to watch them run, 5-yard dashes. We don't really want to watch them. We don't really
Have a
want to
hot
watch
dog eating contest.
and but that's the point. There needs to be something for those guys. I just don't know what it is. But something that
Tug of
shows
war.
off, maybe, yeah. Till someone loses a hand because they got their hand wrapped around the rope. They'd have a cool new nickname, Stumpy.
They just tape it back on.
Yeah. But I
So
I think that I think
if
that's how the
if
NFL needs to go.
if they change up the format of the Pro Bowl, they need to drop the title called Pro Bowl, and they need to take any reward from making it off of the resumes. Because since 2007, well, about 2005, Pro Bowls don't matter, and they shouldn't be on your list of accomplishments if it's going to turn into a popularity contest. You shouldn't be rewarded for that.
I don't think
It
I have an
shouldn't be on
issue
your
with
resume.
that. I don't think I have an issue with that, and I
I
don't
mean,
think
that's the biggest
I don't think most
that's
Hall of
the
Fame
problem that I'm
voters
having with it
care
right
either.
now. I'm not saying it's 100% Hall of Fame voters. I'm saying the fans need to understand that if you got inducted to the new silly sport Pro Bowl right now, it does not mean that you're a good player. It means you're a popular player. Your stats and your skills aren't what got you to this big title of being a Pro Bowler because it's not.
Well, I would say this, the people that know and understand and actually like the game and follow the game know that that's is what it is. You're going to have your idiots that only pay attention to their team and they're rah-rah guys, and they drink their fucking green and silver Kool-Aid or their brown and orange Kool-Aid or their blue and orange Kool-Aid or whatever Kool-Aid they want to drink and only watch their guys and are like, oh yeah, he was a Pro Bowler. We all know that doesn't account for anything. I mean, if you want to talk all pros, that's a list. That's a fucking accomplished list. I don't think anybody can argue about the fucking all pros. Sometimes I don't think the all pro team's fair because there's only two quarterbacks, right?
How so an all pro list is a first team and a second team, right? Then how are you going to have more than two quarterbacks?
Well, that's the fight. But when you look throughout the 2000s and you have Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, who are maybe two of the best quarterbacks ever, how are you going to have someone like Philip Rivers, who was a solid quarterback throughout that time, never an all pro, right?
Yeah.
Because he got stuck playing at a time when two of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game were playing. So I think it's one of those things. People that know, and people that want to list stupid stats like Pro Bowls, they don't know. They just know how to read. They just know So that's some of them don't even know how to read. They can just they gotta sound it out. Hey, pra, pra. You play the
It says he
foosball.
does good stuff.
He's he plays the
But the fans,
foosball.
so to be the devil's advocate on that, right? Say you're a quarterback that gets stuck with Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, right? Should we diminish the fact that they were so great and being on the number one and number two by adding in the third and fourth string quarterbacks on your all pro list?
Absolutely
I
not,
mean, how is
because
that fair to the top two? I mean,
here's the problem is if you add in 3 and 4, well, now, what if there's a year where there is only two quarterbacks that really deserve it, and now we're having to fill out the roster for bullshit players, and then just diminishes it. So I appreciate
back
the
to
fact.
participation trophies.
So I so I appreciate the fact that in order to be an all pro, you have to be one of the best. Like you have to be one of the best. And sometimes life isn't fair, you know? But like I said, that's where the guys who know, you know.
But that's the problem though. The 4.7 million people that actually know sports aren't the ones that you have to listen to. I mean,
That's true.
all day, every day, throwing out fucking stupid bullshit based on their feelers. I'm sorry, sports should not be a feelers voting game. Sports should be here's the stats, here's what I did. Now, occasionally you run into it where, yes, this guy is a very good player, but he's stuck on a very bad team, so he gets overused and he gets beat up, or he isn't getting the stats that he could get on a good team. But that's kind of their fault because you can force a trade except for the first few years when that team has 100% control over you. After the first few years, you kind of control your destiny. And if you're chasing money, you're probably going to end up on a shitty team. But if you're chasing stats in the Hall of Fame, you might need to take a pay cut every now and then and go where it's best to get your talents out there to where you can succeed the most, in my opinion.
Part of that is going to be involved in this, especially now that so much of players' contracts is guaranteed, and that only goes on the team that signs them, right? It used to be the part that stuck with the team was the signing bonus, right? So if Wes Parker gets signed to a 5-year deal, and you're paying me 25 million, and 10 million of that is salary cap, right? So a 5-year deal. So every year, 2 million of my salary is already been paid to me. So if you decide to cut me after the first year, the $8 million that's still owed left on my, even though you've paid it to me, it's on the books for the next 2 million for the next 4 years. If you cut me today, all of that gets brought up to this next year. So now you're getting charged $8 million to for me not to play. Right now, there's so much of
Yeah.
these guaranteed contracts, there's so much, and people are guaranteeing so much that you can't afford to cut players. You can't afford to trade players. So it's one of the things that, yeah, it's good for the football players. They're getting these guaranteed contracts more and more now. More and more money is getting guaranteed. Where they're saying, "Hey, you will get this money. We guarantee this. No matter what happens, you will get this money." But by getting those guarantees, you're kind of getting rid of any trade possibilities you have because they just legit cannot afford to trade you now because that would destroy them.
Well, I'm not talking about teams in this at all. I'm talking about the players, right? If they're
Right.
worried about their stats not making it to that top 1 or 2 spots on the all pro team and they're signing big contracts with shitty teams, it's on them that they're not
Well,
getting the level of accolades because when your contract's up, you can go somewhere else and take a pay cut if you really cared about being in the Hall of Fame or being one of the top all pro players. You wouldn't be like, and I know it's a bad example for you, but Miles Garrett wanted out of Cleveland really bad and then took a huge contract and stayed where he's predominantly didn't have that much defensive help to help him get to what he did. Now imagine if he was on a team that had a little bit more defense behind him. Would he have done as good?
well, so I
I
I
know it's
would
a bad
say,
example because he fucking destroyed the sack record, but
well, and the
like
other
take
reason why,
fucking Daryl Revis when he went to the Jets.
well, he was drafted by the Jets. So the other reason that was a terrible example is the Browns had an awesome defense this year. Part of the reason why Miles Garrett had the year he did, if you looked, people would try to avoid him, but they would get hard rush from the other side and from the defensive linemen where they couldn't step up into the pocket. So that was not a good example, but I know 100% what you're saying. I get it.
That's what I
Um,
said. It wasn't a good example. It's just what came to mind because
yeah,
of the contract situation.
but it's one of those
But
things
there's
that if
been
we're,
countless numbers of players that have been on bad teams and it's been one good player while the rest of the
yeah.
team wasn't good and they weren't getting the numbers because of it. All right, so we evidently lost Wes for the rest of the episode and he is right on the fact that this year's Miles Garrett is a bad example of what we were talking about. But if you look back through Miles Garrett's time at the Browns, it was kind of hard when, he was the best player on the defense and the game plan was always to block him. He's had to work 10 times as hard to get the accolades that he has because he didn't have the support his entire career. He does now, and he did destroy the sack record. But there's lots of names out there. I mean, Levante David from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wasn't on the best team, put up a good showing. Andre Johnson on the Houston Texans. I mean, he could have been one of the best receivers in the NFL, but did not perform as well due to the team that he was on. And a lot of the times, Jamal Charles, Jared Allen, Steven Jackson, Tony Gonzalez, Calvin Johnson, Rodney Harrison from the old days, Junior Seau. I mean, these people had great careers. I mean, great seasons, but they could have done. I don't know. Could they have done better if they were on a better team? So the entire game plan wasn't around stopping that one person or blocking that one person. One of the best examples I feel is Barry Sanders. Now, would Barry Sanders have had the career that he had and the highlights that he had if he played somewhere other than Detroit? I mean, honestly, he put up staggering numbers every year, but he did most of it himself. His offensive line wasn't that great. He didn't have very much support behind him to take the pressure off of him. Would he have been better playing for one of the better offensive teams, or would it actually have hindered his performance? That's what I'm trying to get at. I mean, if you put these all-star players on bad teams because they're chasing money, I'm not saying Barry Sanders chased the money at all. I'm saying a lot of players are trying to get the big contracts and then their stats suffer because they get stuck on lower performing teams. If they would take a little bit of a pay cut and focus on, their stats, what teams would they go to? Would you get an all-star squad put together? Or are we to the point where it's money is the only thing that matters in the game? Which I get it if it is, but I'm just saying. Sometimes if you want to get the stats, if you want to have the elite career, it can't be money driven. You actually have to look at what team is your best fit, not who's paying you the most. That's what I'm trying to say. I know I used a bad example with Myles Garrett this year, but Garrett previously would have fit my example. So with Wes not being able to make her back in today, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you guys have any answers to these questions or any thoughts, make sure you throw them in the comments. Hit that follow button. Make sure you like it or don't like it. One of the two. Push a button. Tell us what your feelings are. That's all I got. Hope you guys have a good day.
It's called Frosty, Dinghy, and I'm the dolphin, and you're the flower.
Well, I guess I think it should be Dr. Parker.